We wake up to a new normal today.
Shelves totally empty.
Long lines and customers fighting over toilet paper and water.
Just relax.
People stand in line outside a supermarket. Shoppers wear masks in a produce aisle. A woman wearing gloves clutches her cart handle. Sign, social distancing.
Ransacked shelves, closed restaurants, purchase limits on pasta. These are the familiar ways in which the COVID-19 pandemic has altered our relationship with food. But whilst most Americans are preoccupied with adjusting to these inconveniences, the country's food crisis extends well beyond what meets the eye. And it's not pretty.
A woman wears a mask, rolling farmland along a highway.
COVID-19 has completely disrupted all stages of the food supply chain, namely the devastating exacerbation of waste.
Bunches of overly ripe bananas sit on a pallet.
Of course, panic buying in bulk can lead to food expiring before it's eaten, and home cooking does increase unconsumed leftovers and scraps.
A child decorates a cake at a kitchen table, a billowing American flag.
The severity of food waste in America is no novel crisis.
Elizabeth Reut, environment and food waste writer.
It's been well reported that the U.S. wastes about 40% of what we grow or produce, and that's like 63 million tons of food a year.
Mounds of discarded food at a landfill.
And this loss occurs throughout the food chain, from the farm to the processing to retail outlets, and mostly in homes.
Couples gather around a dining table.
At 43%, households contribute significantly to total food waste in the U.S.
Food moves through a supermarket checkout.
Compared to people in other countries, we spend a relatively small proportion of our income on food, so I feel like it has less value to a lot of people.
A dollar bill passes between hands. The word pandemic written with beans. The letters D, E, and M fall away, leaving the word panic. A box of tomatoes rolls on a conveyor.
In light of the pandemic, roughly half of the U.S.'s food production, which had originally been intended for restaurants, schools, cruise ships, stadiums, and theme parks, have now been rendered a surplus, failing to be redirected to grocery stores due to lack of appropriate infrastructure.
Tomatoes rot on a vine.
Farms are now left with enormous amounts of food that they can't get rid of, such as produce that has already been planted and livestock born from animals that were already pregnant.
Text, Wall Street Journal, Coronavirus Forces Farmers to Destroy Their Crops. By Ben Kesseling. April 26, 2020.
Throughout the nation, farms are bulldozing their crops and leaving them to rot. Gallons upon gallons of milk are being dumped, and hundreds of thousands of eggs are being smashed.
Sides of meat hang from hooks, pigs crowd a feedlot.
And as meat processing plants have been forced to close, millions of animals are being depopulated, an industry euphemism for mass euthanization.
A tractor mows a pasture.
But while suppliers are resorting to such desperate measures to destroy food, a rather frustrating paradox has arisen due to the pandemic: the dramatic increase of hunger.
The sun rises behind a stretch of urban high-rise buildings.
Like food waste, food insecurity in the U.S. was rampant well before COVID-19 had struck, with approximately 37 million Americans, that's 12% of the population, not knowing where their next meal would come from. Now, with the disruptions to businesses and people's livelihoods, food insecurity is predicted to rise to 54 million Americans. So, what's happening here?
Erica Coyar, Operations Director and Co-Founder, Alma Backyard Farms.
We've never had a shortage of food. We've had a distribution problem in the U.S. And so people go hungry not because we don't have food, but because we just don't get food to them. And the way that things get distributed in the U.S., there's a grading system, and grocery stores located in lower income communities are going to get the bottom of the barrel stuff.
A man picks through wilted lettuce.
And now with heavy disruptions to the supply chain, the price point of perishables have risen as well.
A bin of artichokes. Sign, Food Bank open today.
With limited access to adequate meals, local food banks have been an important lifeline for people to source food. But as food insecurity endangers more and more livelihoods, non-for-profit organizations have stepped up to help combat the issue.
A woman prunes greens in a raised bed. Logo, A Place Called Home.
A Place Called Home, for one, redistributes rescued produce that was destined for waste.
Gilbert Radio, Director of Special Initiatives, A Place Called Home.
The Family Resource Depot, or the FRD program as we're calling it now, that was a direct response to the health crisis that we're currently experiencing worldwide. Before pandemic, we were working with 29 families that have acute need for food insecurity. But now during pandemic, we're at about 275. We're starting to see our numbers rise, and I think we're going to get to about 400 families very soon. We're serving an area that is historically been impoverished for many, many decades. About 89% of the families we serve are of the Latino community, and about 10% are African American community. And these are families, again, that cannot take advantage of government programs. They're probably families that are undocumented, that are, again, have already been in a sort of struggle, and the pandemic has magnified those challenges for them. So it was very easy for us to check up on them and say, do you have the means to get groceries? If the answer was no, they automatically get signed up.
An older woman and younger girl stand smiling on a front porch with grocery bags.
And we tell them, you're getting groceries every Wednesday.
Farm equipment rolls over a pasture.
Where large-scale commercial farms have failed to redirect their surplus, local urban agriculture at Alma Backyard Farms adapted their operations to meet the community's growing needs.
Prior to COVID, we would have a monthly farm stand. As a result of COVID and all of the safer at home guidelines, instead of allowing folks to come onto the farm and shop, we then pivoted to doing a 200 grocery kit giveaway every 2 weeks, curbside pickup. They don't have to get out of their car. Everyone just pulls up to the farm and our team is there putting the bags in your cars. And so it's not just about keeping families fed, which is very important, but it's also about keeping the supply chain in its entirety going and keeping it fueled by keeping other people employed and keeping all parts of it moving.
Nonprofit organizations are making valuable strides amidst the pandemic, but we mustn't forget the individual's ability to make a difference.
A woman stands at a kitchen sink washing apples, a bin of lemons in a market.
Of the most effective strategies to prevent food waste, the first, of course, is to consume the food. So, shop realistically, avoid serving too much, get creative with leftovers, and understand what the different labels mean.
The way they label food, it can be very confusing and ambiguous. So what I mean by that is you have different labels that say sell by, expires by, best used by. It all means something different.
For instance, food past its best by date does not mean it is unsafe to eat, but just that it's no longer at its peak point in freshness.
An array of prepackaged foods.
For food that will not be eaten, the next best step is to donate it through the countless local food banks and organizations near you.
A man wearing a face mask unloads boxes from a truck. An earthworm weaves through a compost heap.
And finally, food that can't be donated should be composted, either at home or at a local facility.
So much of the food chain is opaque to us, and we feel like the food is there. You go to the store and you don't really think about how it got there and all the many steps and all the people who work so hard to bring us this food and are still doing it and doing it so well. So I hope that this crisis is an opportunity for people to learn about these supply chains, fragility.
We're not just trying to tackle something that is a 2020 problem. This is many generations ago and how our cities were built.
The sun peeks through a hazy, sprawling cityscape that fades to acres of green pasture.
There is enough of everything in the world. I think it's just a distribution issue. So if there's an abundance in your household, redistribute that so that people that don't have a means can participate and also have less food insecurity in their lives. And I think it really does start with individuals.
Text, The Food Paradox. COVID-19's impact on waste and hunger. Workers in PPE assemble bins of salad greens on a conveyor. Credits, Director/Narrator, JoJo. Producer, Karen Wynn. Editor, Jacqueline Garcia. A U.S. food truck leaves a warehouse. A tractor travels through a field. Special thanks, Seth Corey, Shruti Parak, Elizabeth Roit, Erica Coyar, Gilbert Radio, Alma Backyard Farms, A Place Called Home.